But it's now time to hit social media for cash tags. And for that, we'd like to welcome in Megan Brantley, the VP of Research at LikeFolio.com, and welcome back Fast Market contributor Jenny Horn. And we're going to be talking Nvidia.
Nvidia, yeah, so this stock is on a little bit of shaky grounds of heading ahead of earnings post-market today. They're lagging the S&P. They're only up 10% year to date compared to the S&P's 13.5%. So not really in a great position, but what I learned actually online today, Megan, is that the chip business is super seasonal, which I just would never thought. So tell us what you're seeing in your consumer purchase intent mentions.
So Nvidia, this one is going to be a fun one to unpack. I may not understand all the technicalities behind it, but I do know that they power computing. Okay, so you're talking about these chips and these cards, and from our data perspective, we're seeing strength in Nvidia, and the brands that are really popping for us when you dig into it, it's their GeForce and also their Shield. And this makes sense. This is in the gaming and entertainment sector. So these are the brands that are really driving our purchase intent mentions. So people talking about, maybe buying a device that is powered by an Nvidia gaming chip, a GeForce chip, or using a product like the Shield, which is, a streaming device that's a console, gaming device, and Google Assistant in one. So we're actually seeing a little bit of bullish divergence set up. We're seeing purchase intent up year over year while the stock is down quite a bit. So this is, we're cautiously leaning bullish into earnings because our data gives insight into the consumer facing side of their business, not necessarily the data center side.
All right, Megan, I'm going to keep this really simple because, well, I'm simple. That's why.
You're not
so
a chip guy?
what I'm going to do, no, I'm not. So is Nvidia part of the, I've bought enough games and consoles to know the difference between the two. Is Nvidia in the games or is Nvidia in the console? Or is it both?
Nvidia is in the chips that are powering the ability to play these games.
So it's in the
it's in
the console. Got it.
And the computer.
Correct.
Got it. Okay.
Space.
Yes.
All right.
Computing power.
Going with that, I think that because it's such a big piece of the growth story with Nvidia going forward, your data is going to be really powerful as people are likely more to talk about the gaming chips they're buying than maybe just the basic one that comes in a personal computer. But a question for you, it might be a little bit of a curveball, so I apologize for that, Megan, but Nvidia was really tied to the crypto space and the mining around that as well. With Bitcoin kind of coming back into play, have you seen an uptick in interest around crypto at all?
It's funny that you say that. Recently, they've had some really tough comps to beat because people were gobbling up these cards to mine Bitcoin last year. And so with an uptick recently with Bitcoin, you never know, that could definitely positively impact the company. But from a strength perspective in our data, actually, we're seeing an uptick in their, I believe it's the RTX cards. They're just calling it the Super Series card in competition with AMD. So to power even more incredible gaming. So really from a strength perspective, we're watching PC gaming kind of build the tailwinds to propel this purchase intent up. And you can see quarter over quarter just how well this quarter has been in 2020 versus the same quarter in 2019.
Another positive thing I saw on social media today was a lot of positive feedback over the Nintendo Switch Lite, which I can't say that I know too much about, but people were tweeting about that this morning. So our first tweet says, Nvidia currently down 8.6% at 154.18. Note massive resistance of 180. Cynically low, but if the main market turns lower, difficult to see this not testing the 132 low. Earnings Thursday after hours. So you mentioned before we went on air that this is a fun stock to trade. Could any of this kind of help you make a trade in Nvidia ahead of earnings?
And what I mean by fun is more that it's volatile.
I like the guy's name, Perma Bear Doomster.
I didn't read it on purpose, yes.
Yeah, but it's one of these ones that, it was such a momentum play and it was such a big piece of 2016, 2017 as it went from a $30 stock to almost $300. So right. I'm sure that, you saw a lot of that surrounding the crypto, Megan, but the big thing here is they're actually growing their purchase intent mentions in spite of those incredibly tough comps. But as you mentioned, a huge part in the data center isn't going to be seen in this data. This is more the gaming space. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting one to trade. And you see the range over the last year from 292 down to 124. How much does that impact the interest that you guys have seeing it sell off that much, Megan?
I think that that's partially what sets up this potential, bullish divergence is that we're seeing continued strength. And if they're able to, continue beating these comps, especially in PC gaming, that could help set up a really nice entry point. I think that, the side that we don't cover, that data center side, what we do know is that they recently acquired Mellanox, which is an interesting acquisition because they focus more on networking and storage. And so Nvidia is playing the long game here. They're thinking of how can they take data centers and turn them into giant computing engines. So I think that that's a smart play long term. You may not see the benefits of that yet, but if they can, get that side of the business to catch up with PC gaming, it's a really nice long term opportunity.
Jenny, our next tweet from Sparky McDowner. Who's the next one?
Kevin, that was such a dad joke. That was just like you set yourself up for that. That was
why'd you have to go? Why'd dad jokes?
It was.
It was cutting edge, no?
It was. But our next tweet says, the bearish time for chips may be coming to an end. We may have yet to bottom, but signs point to chips are back again, chips are back, tell a friend. Earnings this week, so be careful. This one by Xilinx and AMD are through it. I was not singing that. Do you get the Eminem reference, though? I think Megan got it.
I got the reference. I read this earlier, though, so it isn't quite as funny seeing it the second time.
Yeah,
but Megan, the question that I have for you, I guess, is you talk about the data center side, and that you mentioned that recent acquisition. A big piece of their movement on earnings last time was the fact that they withdrew their guidance because they said, hey, it's too hard to forecast for demand. So I think it's interesting that they're having trouble even looking at the data within and seeing how their company is going to perform. But when you look at that separate, we know it's a huge piece of their business. I can't help but notice this is a sizable growth in this consumer purchase intent mentioned year over year in this gaming side with slowing, general gaming. The overall space has been kind of slowing. So the fact that they're growing that in spite of those headwinds has got to be positive, right?
Absolutely. I think that they're up 30% year over year, and the stock is down nearly 30% year over year. So when you look at that, that's hard to ignore. And I think that really they're coming out as, they're the best in class. Like, these are the best gaming chips around. Sentiment is really strong, and so that's really positive for them.
Alrighty, and then just to wrap it then, the data's strong. We know it's just a piece of the business. So are you guys, would you say, cautiously bullish going into this, or are you looking for a pullback as an opportunity, or how do you guys approach this one?
I think that, yes, we are cautiously bullish, and we do see any pullback as a great opportunity. I think that's a great way to summarize it.
Alrighty, Megan, we got to leave it there. Really good stuff, and we'll look forward to this announcement after the close.
Awesome. Thanks. Nice to talk with you guys.